Your business is in sync with LiveSync. This webinar is powered by LiveSync Accounting and Xero Accounting Software. Introducing Attorney Dexter Destajo.
So, bank reconciliation. In bank reconciliation, we will discuss access, who will have access, which are basically for standard users when we enable them to do bank reconciliation. Otherwise, they cannot do bank reconciliation if we disable their access. And then advisors can always do bank reconciliation. Then we will discuss quickly about bank statements. How can we input the bank statements in Xero? So there are two ways, like I said, through a bank feeds, which is automated directly from your online banking. If your bank allows you to integrate this as a bank feeds. But for now, like I said, this is yet to be seen in the Philippines. We're looking forward that there might be banks who are forward-looking and who might want to actually do this bank feeds later. My bet is it would be BPI and Union Bank. I think that's just my bet. No, I'm not sure if that would come true. And then another way of inputting the bank statement to Xero would be importing it, manually importing it using a CSV template, which I will discuss shortly now. Okay, here's the question. Why do we need to import the bank statement in Xero? Can I do away with it? The answer is yes. So you can choose all the way 100% not import anything and just do a manual reconciliation. That's fine. But I would prefer, for sound accounting practice in your company, I would suggest that you would import the bank statement in Xero. If there's not bank feeds, then you do a bank statement, so that you can actually line by line ensure that the bank statement lines reconcile in your book entries. Let's discuss about bank rules, and then let's do reconciliation process. So there are 4 basic steps, or in their order, how you can do the reconciliation process. We will do the simple green matching, and then we can do cash coding, and then find and match, and then what is left, you can do a direct entry. And then let's do also a sample of manual reconciliation, and then let's discuss reconciliation report and limitations and application. Okay. So here, as you notice now, our reconciliation tab is empty. Cash coding is empty. Bank statement is empty. Why? Because all these tabs, their information are very dependent on either bank feeds or the bank statement that we're going to import. If we're not importing anything, we will have no data on these 3 tabs, except when, for example, you are manually reconciling your particular book entry accounts, bank account transaction, then bank statement will also be updated as a user-added reconciliation. But I will show you that later. So now it's all empty. And since we don't have bank feeds for Banco de Oro, our step would be now to import a statement. So the first step would be, so these are the steps of importing a bank statement. The first is you have to go to your online banking. Okay, if you don't have online banking, this could be a challenge for you. Why? Because you would have to go to the bank and ask for a copy of the statement. And if you want to really import this, you have to enter this manually in Excel, okay, so that you can import this. Now, if you really don't have a online banking, I would suggest you would do the third option, which is to do manual reconciliation. So no bank feeds, no manual import, because since you don't have an online banking, so what is left for you to do is manual reconciliation, which we will touch also later. So for now, for importing, in order for you to import and it's more convenient for you, I would advise you do this if you have an online banking and you can download the transactions in Excel. Okay. Once you download this, the second step is download the CSV template for bank statement, and then map properly on the right columns that the templates requires you to fill in. Number 3, the importing, which we now browse and then import, and then number 4, the mapping in Xero, wherein we would map now that this column is for this particular data field in Xero. And then finally, once you import, you have to double check whether your import is correct or not. Okay, let's do that exercise now. So the first thing is I have to go to my online banking and then download the bank statement. So I've downloaded the bank statement. This is the bank statement I got from video, not really the exact format that you might have in your ordinary download of video. But okay, let's assume this is the downloaded now. So normally when you're downloading, it will give you a date, transaction description that you have, and then reference, and maybe a check number, another column. And then you will have a column for credit, which is money that is coming in, and debit, which is the money that is withdrawn. Now, if you notice, I have some comments here because normally what I would do when I downloaded the Excel, I would initially put some comments. These are optional, but this is how I do it. Who are these supplier customers? So it's easier for me to do a bank reconciliation. Okay, so I added this manually here in my in the Excel. Okay. Step 2 would be mapping the CSV. So to map the CSV, I have to download the CSV. To do a download, you have to click import bank statement line. Again, let me do that so that it's very clear. Either I can click here or I can click import a statement. This window will show up, and there is this template on your right side, download CSV. You download this. So once you download, let's download that. Okay. Now this is now your template. You have the date, the amount, payee, description, reference, and check number. Now the one with asterisk, this are mandatory columns. You need to put data on this, otherwise your import would not be accepted. Okay. Now the other fields are optional. You can put data or not. It's fine. Xero would still accept that. Now you might notice that the amount is one column, and if you look at your bank statement, you have 2 columns here. So why is that? Now, because Xero would need to recognize that positive amount would mean money coming in. A negative amount is the money withdrawal. So you have to combine all these 2 columns and put positive or negative, whether it's money deposit or money spent, as the case may be. Negative if it is a spend, if it is money in or deposit is a positive. So what do we do here? So what I would do, just observe how am I doing this. So normally I'll start with date, paste. So then I change the format. So normally when I do a format of the date, there's a specific format that I follow so that I would avoid this. Again, my learning, for 12 years of doing this. So I always follow this format, day, month, and year. And then what I would do is I would combine this in one column. The credit would be positive and then minus the debit. Okay. Run that here. Copy that. Paste special. Then I have that. Okay. Since I don't have a payee, I go directly copying the description, which I will post under my description as well. Paste special again. And then I'll copy my description as reference as well. Okay. I don't have a separate check number because the check number is already in my description. Okay, so then I'm ready. I'll make sure I don't have any extra lines here and any extra lines here. So I'll delete that. Then what I will do, okay, I would save this. When I'm saving this, I have to save this particularly as a CSV file. Okay, You have to select CSV comma delimited, so no mistake. And then I would say Xero PHP import statement. Soon. This is how I file my import statements. I'm saved that already. Click yes, close this, click save, and then yes again. And normally what I would do, I need to open again. I open back the file. So where is that file? So this, I open that again, just to make sure that everything as the CSV would accept the data as it is as a CSV file. So this is, I'm fine now. So this is what I did in the second step. I have mapped from this bank statement, I carry this over to the template. Now I'm ready. I just close this. The next step would be to do the actual importing. Okay, so here we go. Let's browse this file. Select the file, import this. Now, if your CSV is not properly done, then an error will show and say Xero cannot accept the import. No. Otherwise, if it's done properly, you're going to the fourth step. The fourth step is what we call mapping in Xero. What it does in this step is that your headers here. Okay, let me open that one more time. So your headers here have, on each column has his headers, right? So in this case, the date is this one. How do you want to code this in Xero? So I would say in Xero, this would be transaction date. If this is the amount, then this would be a transaction amount in Xero. That is the field that it will input in. Payee is the payee also. Description is the description. The reference would be the reference as well. And then check number would be the check numbers. So once you've done that, the first line of your imported transaction, this one, Xero will give you a snapshot of how it would look like when you are going to input that as a bank statement. So here you have a 500,000 transaction amount, the date, and the descriptions, and the others are just empty because it has no data about. Then finally, you have to tick this because you don't want to import the first line, as the first line is about your header names. So what I tick that and then click save. Okay, no Xero duplicates. There might be a question, what if you re-import again an old transaction line which you already imported previously? How would Xero treat that? The answer is Xero would actually check if there's a duplicate. If it's a duplicate, it will remove the duplicate automatically. Okay? And then it will just import the one that is not a duplicate. We have successfully imported all this. So you notice that our reconciliation tab has data already. And then cash coding has data as well. Yep, this is the one that we actually imported in Excel. And then the bank statement has data already. But noting that it's all unreconciled because we have not done reconciliation. Our accounts transaction will not affected every time we are going to make an import. Why? Because this is our book entry. Now, like I said, the last part would be to check, after mapping, to check if the import is correct. Before doing any bank reconciliation process, immediately after you import this, I am advising you to double check your import, whether you have imported this properly according to your online bank statement. Because a common error would be, if you're not doing this properly, maybe all this amount will fall under one column under spent or received, right? Or it will be reversed. Instead of received, it's actually in the spent column, and then instead of spent, it's actually received. So you have to double check this very efficiently, right? So I start looking at this. Okay, so the 500, the 500,000, the 529, 12,000, 15, 56, and 15 that is actually in the credit column. I check. Yes, it's all in the credit column, so that's fine. So then I have imported the bank statement correctly in the system. Okay, so now let's visit the reconciliation report before doing any bank reconciliation. Let's see what's going on in our reconciliation report. If you're an accountant, you're very familiar with this. So Xero would actually give us a reconciliation report. Okay. Now, when I saw this the first time, I said to myself, what was the purpose of in the board exam? I have that bank reconciliation under audit problems. No, I have that, and then when the software can actually do this eventually for us, that does not matter because your knowledge in what you learn when you were in school would actually help you become better accountant later. So here, it will give us two numbers, one on the top and one at the bottom. And then let's try to look at also your dashboard in your Banco de Oro as well. Something is changed? Yes, something is changed. Now this time, there is a number already of the bank statement, okay? And then this is the number of your book entry. So very quickly, let me just do this exercise one more time, just to double check. So I would say 1 plus credit minus debit. 258, is this the same number with me? Oh, it's not the same number. So let's look why it's not the same number. Ah, I understand now. Because there is a post-dated payment. Okay, that's fine. 295. What did I miss? 258. Yeah, this is 258. And then this is 295. Ah, I know what's the reason. The reason is today is June 27. Okay, we have data already as of 30/30. So if you look at here, what is date today? June 27. So 295. This balance here in your current day will be the one who's going to show up here. So by the time our computer date is become June 30, it will follow this date. So the dashboard would tell you only what is the balance as of today based on the bank statement of today and the book balance as of today. No, so since I'm importing until June 30, that is the case. So please don't be confused about this. But if your date, if today is June 30, then this amount instead of 295, it will be 258, which will be matching with our bank statement here at the bottom. So now since we are in this level, so our number is this number here. Okay, so I was nervous there for a bit why that was the case. So see, this is June 27. This is your bank account number because it's only capturing until 26. Okay, so let's study what are the parts of this report. So the top one is your book entry. Is your book entry here. So as of June 25, 410, this is the balance right now, which is correct, your book entry. And then your bank entry, like I said, 295 under June 27, 295, okay? But if we change this date here to end of the month, then it would be basically another number because it would include already the June 30 transaction. So what are the parts here? The first is when it's reconciled, the bank reconciliation report would include, it would start with the book balance of 406 for that June 30 date. And then it will add all outstanding checks or outstanding payments that did not clear and debited in our bank. All of this. We have recorded this in the book, but we have not done a reconciliation report showing us outstanding payment. The same is true on outstanding receipts or what we know as deposit in transit. So since we are not doing any reconciliation yet, it's showing all the transaction of your book entry for received money. And then finally, the bank reconciliation line. It's a combination of positive and negative. So what is showing here, all the data that you have imported recently. So this is the case. So it's 258. It's also the same amount that you have imported here. Okay, so that is bank reconciliation report. Now let's do the process of reconciliation now. Now, when you are doing reconciliation, we need to make sure that we are working smart. So maybe I would just have to add here initially called bank rule. bank rules. Set up bank rules. These are the method in their order I follow when I'm doing a bank reconciliation. So if you look at your bank statement, which transaction line most likely will come and recur every time you make an import? And then we'll have to maintain the same description or reference so that by the time you import, Xero on its machine learning technology will be able to understand, this particular transaction is this for this particular rule. So in this example, we would always know that there will be interest. In our example, in our demo right now, is that online banking and then interest online income would always be there in our bank transaction. Also transfer charges, it will always have there. But the problem is it would have different amount. So these particular transactions that are recurring every time you import, you have an option to create a bank rule so that it's easier for you to do a bank reconciliation later, because Xero would now suggesting to you that you have to reconcile this based on your bank rule. So how do we do a bank rule here? I just go here on the manage account option, go to bank rules, and now for our demo purposes, okay, I would want to do a bank rule for once I have a bank statement imported under transaction column and it has interest income, I will book that as other revenue. Okay, so this is the technology Xero has already implemented way before, when I joined in 2012. So what I would do, I select which entries, mode of entry will the bank rule will apply. So in this case, because it's interest income, meaning it will increase my bank statement and therefore it is receive money rule. So I create a receive money rule and then I say anything in my description column in my Excel that contains interest income, I have to set that the contact would be BDO. Okay, that would be the contact there, and then the suggested entry would be other revenue. So when Xero will read that there's an interest income, Xero would suggest, so it will be no VAT because there's no VAT for this, suggest that the rule, the reconciliation rule would be this, would be the entry. And then if you need to do allocation, you can also do that, but I do not do this here normally in the bank rule, meaning you can split, let's say, if you have a 100 big amount, it allows you to do, instead of one line, you can do multiple line and then spread this, that whatever is the amount, you spread that at 50% each. You can do that. So then when you apply the rule, it will have 2 lines or 3 lines, it's up to you. But for me, right now, we'll do a 1-line account as a bank rule. And we say reference will be set from the description, and I'm always targeting this using the bank type BDO. And then I'll call this BDO interest income rule. Okay, so I'm saving this now. So with the hope that once I imported the bank statement in the future, every time I import, and Xero would notice that there is a column. Oh, what did I miss here? Ratio lines must be percentage. Percentage here. Sorry, be 100%. Fine. Okay, fine. It's asking me all this information again. So 260, no VAT again, then physically copying whatever I have here. Okay. But all ratio must have a percentage and all fixed amount line must have an amount. So, okay, fine. I will do an initial amount of 15. Anyway, it will be an auto suggest or default anyway. So then I have that rule already. So now let's go to my bank reconciliation. So I go to bank account. I click the particular account, or I can click reconcile 31 lines. So right now, because we have 31 lines, it will show us the 31 lines. So let's see whether Xero would actually detect the bank rule, no? So the interest income comes towards the end of the bank statement. So yeah, so here, so you see, Xero has actually identified that there's actually an interest income in the import statement. Okay, so it's suggesting, do you want to apply the BDO roll interest income? Then you have to click this yes. Why? Because this is actually correct, and this is where you set up the bank rule. If you do not, then you just don't apply the bank rule. No, it's up to you. You can edit the rule if you want. You can also view the details if you want how it would look like now. See, it's just copying the way we are setting up the bank rule. The default is already there, and Xero would actually auto-populate that for us. Okay, so what I would do, okay, refresh this again. What I would do is I would say, click video interest income, check one more time, that's fine. And then what I would do is click OK now. Because I'm confident that it matched with my rules. I didn't click OK. So now from 31, I'm down to 30. So what happened to my books? Now take note that interest income, we did not do any bank entries in our interest income. So what happened here, once I did that, Xero recorded, okay, automatically the book entry for the interest income. At the same time, it is also reconciling the interest income in the bank statement. So we have 30 lines more in our bank statement to go. Okay, so we're done with the bank rule. Second would be matching the green color, okay, which is a very easy reconciliation. Let's go back to reconciliation again. So the first step would be to reconcile all those greens, okay? So you notice that after I imported, these green colors are showing up with the OK button in the middle, right? It's all over the pages of the reconciliation pages, okay? What is this? This means that once you imported the bank statement, Xero, through its algorithm, tried now to read that these bank statement lines, do we have already an existing book entry? If the answer is yes, then Xero would suggest that that is the particular book entry that you can reconcile with, okay? So in our reconciliation page, the left side here is your bank statement line. Your right side here are the suggested book entries in Xero. So very quickly, let's start. In June 1, our bank statement is saying that there's money coming in from Dex Board Start Fund. And Xero has detected that there's actually an existing book entry. How do I know that? Because it has two arrows on opposite direction, okay? This would mean, and then also the reference and the initial investment is here. The date is the same. So they are the same transaction. So then I can reconcile them, okay? So how will Xero try to suggest this? Based on date, based on, first is based on amount, okay? Second is based on date. Others would just be circumstantial, no? If it will not trigger, if it will not match any other date, it will not suggest a green. So for now, what we will do, we'll do a reconciliation for the green suggested recon items. So here, this is okay. So now I'm down to 29. Check withdrawal 1. Okay, I'll go to my cheat sheet. This was my petty cash. So petty cash, yes. Is there any other option? So I click that so that I'll see if there are other options. So no, it's actually the petty cash. So I select the petty cash here, which was also the one that's recommended. And then check withdrawal number 2, rental check. Okay, and then there's also another options. It's the same check, but it is the date of June 1 that we will use to reconcile this. So now that's reconciled, 27 lines more. There is a prepayment for LiveSync 50%. Yes, LiveSync, this is correct, advance. So then I reconcile that. If I don't have a suggestion, I skip that for this process now. Again, there's an advance for Bright Movers 50%, fine. Then let's do the next one, prepayment for Monday. Money we receive. Monday also is here, fund transfer. The date is matching and the reference is matching, so that is reconciled. Eat Fresh also, the same information. Click OK. Check 11. So what is check 11? Maybe you have a check register. You have to go, what is your check 11 here? Check 11 is another petty cash transaction. So yes, petty cash peso transaction again. Okay. Now, all the page 1 are gone. Let's go to page 2. Next. So the reconciliation page would only have 10 lines, not to reconcile each. So second page, Manila supplier. So now I see here that there's actually a different type of arrow that we're showing here. So when you mouse over this, you would see that this is a bill. And then when you mouse over also, this opposite green color is a sales invoice. So what does it tell us here? Basically, this would tell us that Xero is detecting an unpaid bill. Xero is detecting an unpaid invoice. So Xero is saying, hey, accountant, there is an open bill that is not paid. Maybe this payment in your bank statement is actually payment for this bill. Okay? So let's see. Just to demonstrate that further, I'm opening this by clicking the details. No? So it's true. There's a bill that I forgot to enter earlier. Then I go to my register. Yes, Manila supplier. So that's Manila supplier check number 8, which by some reason I did not record the payment, but it's showing in my bank statement. It can happen, no? So if I'm convinced that check number 8 is actually payment for this particular bill, I'll just click OK and reconcile that. What would happen? From an unpaid bill, it becomes now a paid bill. See? So what does this tell us? This would tell us that you can actually record payment on a bill or invoice through the reconciliation process. So assuming you are just recording the bill without recording the payment, reconciliation time will come, you'd be able to match the bank transaction line to your bill or invoice as a payment, okay? Without doing a separate transaction, doing it. Normally what you do is before you reconcile, you input the payment. But sometimes we forget, and that could be a common error as well in the accounts. But because of the bank reconciliation, you are making sure that all money that went out from your bank is actually applied to a particular bill. So then your accounts payable is corrected. And then if you're receiving money here, example, from your customer and you did not record the payment, you're also correcting the accounts receivable. Because if you have not made the payment here, your receivable is still high. So I'll click this OK as well. So then that payment also comes there to that particular invoice, and this bill as well. Apply that payment. So now my age payable, is this age payable? No. I'll say my age payable now gets reduced as well immediately as soon as I clean up that particular payments directly to the bill. There's another transaction, the date is the same, the amount is the same, another customer 02, and this is, what is this, invoice. So this was payment of another customer, and this is the reference, no? So there's a reference, the reference is the same. So then I click OK. And then another for Pag-ibig. So this was with check number 15. It's also saying check 15 here. So there was already a payment entry. I click that OK. PhilHealth as well, check 16. No, maybe there was an error in the entry, but the amount is the same. So let me just check. So yes, this is PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, and this is even BIR. So because I issued that check, I just go directly like this. Okay. Then I'll do the next page. I need to look all the green first. So then there's no more green. So I'll go back to the 14. So here from 31, we have 14 items to reconcile. Now, what to do next for the others that are not green? What we do now is cash coding. So cash coding is another way of doing a bank reconciliation, like an Excel reconciliation. No? So when I go cash coding, I go to cash coding tab. And what it does, it will show me the remaining bank lines that are still not reconciled. So you can either input as a direct entry to this, select the account, and then reconcile plus make an entry. Okay. Otherwise, you would have to select only some of these transactions that you would want to code. So I'll give you an example. Online banking fees here, right? I can actually say online banking fees, I'd say video, okay? And then I'll say bank, okay? And then this is, okay, there's no VAT for this. And then this is for branch one, and department one. I can take this and I can isolate and reconcile this. So take note, in our bank account, we don't have a 200 because it was not entered yet, right? So normally bank charges, bank interest income, we will see that only when we receive the bank statement. When we look at here, let's scan. Before doing that, do we have a 200 here? There's no 200. So I didn't spend any 200 here. So then when I do that through cash coding reconciliation, that particular line will be successfully saved, entered, and reconciled. And then when we update this, we see the 200 showing up in our system. See, it's here already. So it's reconciled at the same time recorded. So that's one method you can do a bank reconciliation using cash coding. Now, I've seen a lot of clients where they do not actually do any entries in Xero, but what they do is that they do all money coming in and money going out through their bank. And then towards the end of the month, they download the Excel, import here without any accounts transactions here. This is empty. What they do is they import the bank statement and then they code each of the bank lines using cash coding. Okay, they code it for the first time, and like what I did earlier, it will automatically create an entry. So this is very easy for very small businesses that does not know about bank reconciliation and accounting. You just teach them how to import and then do cash coding, then they can define what particular accounts they want to use. So that's one practical and application use for cash coding. Another way would be to filter the same transaction, okay? Filter the same transaction and create the same entries for all of them. So here, what are the remaining unreconciled lines? The transfer charges. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 transfer charges, right? I'll show you a trick what we usually do here when it is a repetitive line with the same, whether it's the same amount or not. But the accounts and the pay are the same. Normally, we would just code this directly. So normally, this is true for credit card charges or for bank charges. So you see here, when I do a filtering, a sorting, it groups together all the bank charges. So what I would do, I take all of this, I click shift. Again, I take the first line, hold shift, and then I put BDO. It auto-populates BDO here. Bank fees, auto-populate bank fees. And then this is with VAT, so then 12%. And then this is batch 1, and then batch 2. So see the convenience of doing cash coding in your bank reconciliation if you are the same transactions. I start reconciling that, and then all the bank charges in my accounts transaction will all be added up here. So let's see, 224 is here, 224, and then all other 224 is here. Bank statement is also reconciled. So you're not only reconciling, but you're also coding your books, doing two things in one action under cash code. Now you can do directly record this, no, but in that at this instance, I don't want to cash code everything because I think I still have book entries that I need, that I can still reconcile on this. So I'll go back to my reconciliation. I'll do the third part, find and match. So what is find and match? So what happened is when you're almost doing all the reconciliation process, and then you're left with these 9 items. There's no green, there's no bank rules that suggest for you. You are left already of what that you have to figure out how you reconcile this. So there is this question, there is this one line now. Check number 3, 50,400. Okay. Now, when I click find and match, and then I type 5,400 in my search, nothing will show up. Okay. So what I would do, I need to go to my check register. What is my check number 3? So my check number 3, it says check number 3 is actually a supplier rent, right? So if it was a supplier rent, I'll type the name. So I clear this. I type the name of the supplier because that's what I saw in my check register. A supplier rent. So there is a supplier. Okay. So there is a mistake here. Why there is a mistake? 50,000. My amount of my rent, obviously there's a mistake in my entry because what would happen is in my bank statement, it showed that I only issued 50,400. But then by some reason, the entry, so I'll click this one so that I can open the bill. Instead of recording 50,000, erroneously, I've recorded 67,200. So there's an error of my payment here. So what do? I will remove this payment so that I can apply the proper amount. So this is where I will correct now a wrong book entry, which I discovered only during bank reconciliation, okay? So now you discover there's an error of the entry because the actual amount that came out to your bank is only 50,400, but you have erroneously booked 67. Oh, this is already reconciled. So what is this 50,400? Okay. This is already, this is check number 2, December 31. So I am selecting the wrong one. So then I'll do another process. So I cannot find this in my find and match here. There's nothing here I can find. And then my check register is also telling me otherwise. But when I check another rental, that is already been paid. So what do? I'll check again with my age payable transaction. What could be that payment? No? Obviously, as an accountant, you would know this. But if you're an external accountant, you would not know this particular amount. Okay, if to what particular supplier that you are making reconciliation with. So here, what would be the best supplier that I have recorded? So there's no 54,000, no, how much? There's no 50,400, okay? Then I'll do another elimination method. I'll do purchase overview. Maybe there was an entry there. Or I can go directly also to reconciliation report. So I go to paid, but unreconciled transaction. This is very interesting. This could be, this payment could be this. One check for 2 payments. Okay, let me check my reconciliation report. If actually I made an entry, book entry, that would be amounting. So here, I see this amount, but which of this? So here, 22,000 and 28,400. So if that would be the match. So let's say 22,400, 28,000. Alas, that's it. So this was a payment for 2 separate payments of separate bills. Okay, so what I would do, I would select another supplier name, and then I pick those 2 payments. I'm doing now a batch payment for this. So in this example, 50,400 is actually a payment for the 2. So see check number 3, check number 3 is here. What I have done earlier, I could have done like 003. Okay. Then 003 would actually show up here since this number, no? If I do this number here, search, and then that number should have shown up. Anyway, so it ends up on the same thing. So these are actually, this amount is a payment for the 2 payment of 2 separate bills. So a batch payment. So then I click that, it's reconciled. So Visa purchase Facebook. Now, again, it's not suggesting anything. So chances are, maybe we have not booked this yet, or maybe it was booked, but the payment was recorded in a wrong way. So let's check here. So 5448, Do I have Facebook? No, I don't have. Let's look at my sheet. This is the process normally what you do. So sample supplier. So the name was sample supplier, and it says it was recorded in petty cash fund. So let me check sample supplier. Yes, there's a sample supplier of 448 bill. Yes, there was payment, but why it's not showing up in my bank account, BDO? It is because it was erroneously recorded as petty cash. So what I would do, again, I would make a correction because I discovered this error during the bank reconciliation. I remove the payment. Once I remove the payment, I go back to my reconciliation. Where's my reconciliation tab? Then it will suggest now as an open bill, and then I can reconcile this, continue, and then what would happen, this bill will now be corrected on the right payment. See, the payment came in now, and then it's reconciled, and now it's in the right account. So in the bank reconciliation, it allows you to discover errors also of your entry. That's why accounts reconciliation is a very good internal control for your accounting system. Next is deposit of 500. So there is a deposit of 500. Let's look at your Excel again, your cheat sheet. There is a 500, there's nothing there. So normally when I receive a cash deposit and I don't know where it's coming from, no customer defined, because you would not know, right? So anyone can go to the machine and deposit this cash. So the way we will interpret this is obviously you will have to ask from your company who made this deposit. If no one would say it's a deposit, then you can record this as an other income, for example, or if it is from the owner, then you record this as an owner. So there is a unusual cash deposit. So I would write this. I would directly record this as unknown customer. Okay. And then I would say other income. So I'm doing now the method called the direct. So I'm doing number 4 method already, direct entry, where I can code directly side by side during my bank reconciliation process. Then I would say unknown cash deposit, but because you are a VAT registered, you have to charge VAT inclusive for that, department 1, department 2. Let's check the details. I click add details to see how it would look like. I would just say unknown deposit. Okay, I save this. There's a book entry, and then you reconcile. Now, inward 13. What is this 29,000? Again, from sample supplier, it's showing the invoice here. Then I do again a find and match, and then I would say sample supplier. So customer, sorry. It will show me this, and it will tell me this is payment from invoice 01 and 03. So I select this. Then yeah, that would be a match, 29,800. Again, this is a batch payment on the sales side. Let's proceed to the next one. Again, there's a check number. I don't know what is this check number. Again, go to my check register. What was that check number for? Check number 4. Okay. Check number 4. Ah, this is salary. Okay. So find and match. Okay. And because pay run is a PR reference, I select PR here. Oh, I don't see. This is June 15, but this is June 30, June 15. So this is not the one. Research. Let me see if I have, and then again, let me see here, waiting for payment. No, maybe it's paid. Paid. So there are payments here, PR. I can go to my pay run very quickly. Then look at pay run. Yes, there was a payment recorded. Yep, it's paid already. Let's look at where is that entry. 27 to 9, okay? So what happened here? Paying this employee one by one, or okay? So let's look at the payment entry. Unreconciled, yep. And this is payment. Okay, so Giancarlo and Peter Rogers are paid one, and then Elisa was paid separately. So the way I will approach this in my bank reconciliation would be here. So I would say Elisa. I don't know if I can search Elisa here. So Elisa is here, and then I would try to do Peter. So I select. So this is the pay. This is the salary. This is the salary. So this is the salary, 19,000. Okay, so I select this. This is the payment. And then there would be another lady of 8,000. Okay, let me go back to the payroll. How did we pay Elisa? So Elisa is not showing up. So this is Elisa. Let me check how we record Elisa. Oh, it was paid from petty cash. So again, it's an error again. It should have been paid from the bank, but it was paid out in our entry, in the book entry, it was paid from petty cash. So what I would do, I will remove this. Okay. Then I'll try to refresh this again. Every time I make an action in the middle of my bank reconciliation, you have to refresh this so that it will update the data in your bank reconciliation. So first, I would select this one because these were the payments of those guys, and then Elisa also. So then I found now already the match for these entries. So I can reconcile that, and then your pay run is already reconciled properly. And then pay run, double check if it's all good. So this reconcile properly. Yes, reconcile properly. And then you have Elisa, Carlo, and Peter Rogers. So that's fine. Okay, we're good. Now let's do to the next one. Check 05. So what's check 05 in my? So again, there's a petty cash of 3,000. So again, I withdraw another 3,000. Let me see if I have other petty cash here. So 15, there's nothing. Okay. So since there's nothing to reconcile of 10,000 of 3,000, I can do now the direct entry. So I will go to create. Okay. Then I would say no. I would do transfer. So this is transferred to petty cash, and then it'd say replenishment. Okay. So there is an unrecorded transfer or replenishment on the petty cash. We're recording that as a transfer under this bank reconciliation. Next would be there's an advance from Toyota. So what I would do is find Toyota here. So you're doing select, and it's a big amount, and it's only 112, and we did not do any entry since this is a bill. So let's open this. So we have not made a payment, but we actually issued a check for the advance payment of 10%. Okay, so that's Toyota. So what I would do here, instead of recording this, I can do that, right? 10%, which is 112,000. But what I would do here is I would record the payment through the bank reconciliation. But since what's showing here is 1.120 million, you can actually split this bill and record a partial payment, which is basically this balance here of 112,000. Input it here, split it. Now you are going to reconcile the remaining balance of 108 is still an open or payable amount. I click that OK, I reconcile that. Then we look at here on the bill that partial payment is recorded. So what did we do there? We did a split. Why do we do a split? Because the invoice that is showing us in our final match is a big invoice, and we have not recorded any partial payment. If we want to apply the amount in the bank line as a partial payment, you have to click the split option so that you can input only the partial amount, and then typically the Xero would have to remove the portion that matched to your bank statement, and the remaining would still remain to be accounts payable or accounts receivable, as the case may be. And then finally, we're doing here, check 009. Check 09. Oh, what is this? Check 09. I have no data. Again, we will have to do a lot of elimination method. So what I would do, I give you another trick. I'll go to reconciliation report and then look at what are transactions that I have not recorded as this. So nothing here. This is the only thing that's left. Then what I would do is I will go to my accounts payable. Maybe I'll see some similar amount that is still outstanding there. Toyota. Okay, then, so we don't have this data, nothing. Okay, so for now, what I would do is 15,000 for customer. Wow, I don't have that number, 175. What is this 175? So maybe what we can do now is, since I don't have the data, we can create a, obviously as an accountant, you have to investigate what is this check number, who is the payee, right? So what you would do is find who is the payee and then book this an entry either as a bill or a spend money. So for this purpose, since I don't have the data, I would assume that this was a withdrawal from the owner. So what I will do is I do a create entry. Again, this is an assumption. And then I would use unintroduced, okay, which is a negative entry. And then I would copy this transaction, assuming in my investigation that this was actually a withdrawal from the owner. Okay, again, I can select the branch and then I will do no VAT for that. And then I click OK. So I'm doing another that transaction. And then finally, this would be my payroll again. So I would select PR and then I can click everybody. Then it's a match. So what happened now? We have reconciled all bank transactions. Your cash coding is empty. Okay. Bank statement, all are reconciled. Right? Now we look at your accounts transaction. There are still two lines that are not reconciled. So what we go do is we go to reconciliation report. So this is where the stage you would now find if you have some errors. Okay. So in the reconciliation report now, it's saying that there is one particular customer payment. So as an accountant, he said, why did we book this 15,000 and I did not see this in the bank statement? You make now an investigation. And then on this purpose of demo, the result of your investigation is that there was actually a check that you received from the customer that has been sitting in the drawer of your accountant. So this check was never deposited. So what the accountant did was to record this on June 13, this check as in your Banco de Oro transaction, but did not deposit this to the bank. So what would happen is that you would now have a unreconciling transaction of 15,000. So most probably when you discover this, and today is June 30, you deposit this the following day, what would happen is you will reconcile this now on June or July 1, 2, 3, depending on when you actually deposit and clear this in the bank. So as of June 30, this transaction will sit as an unreconciled transaction in your Xero. So, okay, so that again, when you go back to your dashboard, okay, there is still a difference. Why is this different? The answer is you are different because you have a 15,000 difference. No? And then this will explain to you why this is different. So your statement balance and balance in Xero is not matching. Okay. So here, if you compare there is a 15,000 difference on your transaction. Okay, it would be good if it would have the same numbers for both the balance, the statement balance, and the balance in zero. So that's your bank reconciliation process. At the end, you need to make sure that your reconciliation report is always correct and it's true. Okay? So that's how you do a bank reconciliation when you have a bank feeds or an import bank statement. Now, another way of doing a bank reconciliation, the last one, would be to manually reconcile. When do you apply manual reconciliation? You apply manual reconciliation when, particularly when you are reconciling cash accounts. Because normally you don't have an online banking for petty cash, right? So it's either you have a bank, your accountant is maintaining an Excel where it tracks all the petty cash in Excel, or your petty cash custodian is tracking Excel. Then petty cash custodian send it to you the Excel. Then you can import that petty cash Excel in Xero the same way we're doing importing in the bank statement. Otherwise, what would happen is if you are an accountant and you are recording on real time the petty cash transactions in Xero using spend money, receive money, and transfer money, what is left for you to do is to actually do a manual reconciliation. So why is this important? At the end of the month, when you have a petty cash account, you need to do a reconciliation and confirmation process, right? As an accountant, you make sure that the balance of the petty cash in your book would actually be existing and correct. So let's switch to the petty cash. How do you exactly manually reconcile? So for this demo, what we do is we try to show how to manually reconcile transaction line. Again, nothing here, it's empty. Cash coding is empty as well because we have not imported. Bank statement also empty. Accounts transaction is also empty. Right? So at the end of the month, you have to verify your petty cash. As an accountant, is this really correct? Did we release this money? Yes, we did release. Okay. Did we really receive this money? Yes. Did we actually release this payment cash? Yes. Did we receive? Yes. Okay. So you can actually do a manual reconciliation for this. How do you do this? First, the first thing you need to do is to go to this question mark here. You need to enable something. You have to enable Mark Reconcile, where you can do a wholesale of reconciliation. When I click this, a button here will show up, Mark as Reconcile. Okay? So there are two ways to do manual reconciliation. One way would be to do everybody, all of it. Let's exclude one so that I can demo the second one. One is to do a mark reconciliation for all the transaction in your dashboard. So the way I do it is I would mark that reconcile. Okay, so then I'm reconciling this. Why? If I'm doing a reconciliation, when I reconcile this, this means that this transaction are actually valid and correct, and then the balance is actually correct, right? So now what happened in your bank statement? Bank statement will have this. So you see the source, how it is reconciled. It is the user who is reconciling and create a bank statement as well. If you shift this to BDO, you would see that is an import source. So that is the difference. Imported, when you're reconciling from the imported statement. But if you are manually reconciling, your bank statement will also be filled up, but the source would be the users. That's the difference. The second method of manually reconciling a transaction is going to the payment transaction itself, open that, and then you go to the option and then mark reconcile. So what happened when you do mark reconcile, this will show up now, reconciled, and then you would see that the user actually created a reconciliation. So we go back now to the bank. Okay, so all of them now are reconciled. So you see, you have one transaction, your balance now is confirmed, 23,760. Your bank account would also have the same balance amount, 23,000. Reconciliation report. When you have perfected the reconciliation, this is what it would look like. Nothing unreconciled transaction. Compared to your BDO, you still have the 15,000. Okay? Now, when your company is in audit and they will ask you for a bank reconciliation report, this is the report that you will send them. Okay? The beauty of this is you can just, in my experience, working with external auditor, some forward-thinking auditing firms would just ask us an access on this Xero of the client, and then they do their thing. They generate the lapsing schedule from there, download the registration. In the past, the auditors, what they would do is they will have to come to the office, sit down with the accountant, and give us all this schedule. And the accountant, lucky if you've been working there for more than a year, if you are not, then it's a pain in the ass for you because you have to reconstruct everything, the schedules that the auditor will do that needs for you. But with Xero and cloud account technology, many of that process, face-to-face, side-by-side, preparation of schedule can be, removed, and you just give an access to the auditor. The auditor will come in, test the reliance, the reliability of the system. That's number one, according to procedure. If I'm sure they would say this is okay and reliable. Number two, then they can download the report as generated by Xero in the reports, and that includes bank reconciliation, depreciation schedule, and etc. So that is the end of our bank reconciliation.